Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Shelja Thakur. Shelja is our germination technician here at Seed Savers Exchange. And hopefully you've all had a chance to see her video at seedsavers.org/conference. It is all about setting up your own germination test at home. If you haven't seen that, I highly recommend it. She talks a little bit about why you might want to set up a germination test and then walks you through the steps of doing so. Thank you, Shelja, for taking the time to answer some questions today. I think we're all ready to get started. Let me hand it over to Shelja.
Hello, my name is Shelja Thakur, and I'm the germination technician at Seed Savers Exchange. Welcome to the Seed Savers Exchange virtual conference. I'm really glad you are all here. Hopefully you had the chance to watch the seed germination testing video. If you didn't, I would be happy to answer all or any questions you might have. So one of the big reasons why we do seed testing here is because we have a collection of 20,000 seed varieties or even more. So it's not possible for us to grow everything in our garden in a year or even in 10 years. So when we test our seeds, it really helps us prioritize what needs to be grown right away or what could wait another 2 to 3 years before we need to grow out and get good viable seeds. So even for you all, if you're interested in testing your own seeds, it could really help you prioritize if you are like starting your own collection or saving your own seeds, or you just happen to have like some really old seeds and you don't know what kind of germination they have or if they're even going to do well. So like you could do your own seed testing at home to figure that out and plan your garden for next year. So yeah, I think I'm going to open it up for questions and go from there.
Great, thank you, Shelja. So our first question here is from Mindy. She says that you mentioned in your video about saving seeds in glass jars. Could you also save them in plastic Ziploc bags?
So I actually, in order to figure out the best storage containers, I talked to my supervisor about it, and he said that it's actually better to put them in glass jars over something that's plastic. I don't know why he said that, but I think it's also probably that in glass jars you are going to have less chance that the moisture will get in them versus in Ziploc bags, even though they are supposed to shut pretty tight. But I think just to save your seeds from that moisture getting in, the glass jars might be better than Ziploc. I think Ziploc bags might work, but like then you might need to test your seeds more often to make sure that they are still good seeds. So I think it would work, but it's just that glass jars would be better than Ziploc bags.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
The next question is coming from Julie. Julie is asking, what do you do with the seeds after they've germinated? And could a home gardener plant those seeds? That question for normal, abnormal, and unknown seeds.
So we actually, all the seeds that we test, all our germination seeds, we do not plant them. Unfortunately, we do have to compost them. We have never tried to see if they would actually, if you transfer them into soil, how they would do. But it's just that if you are going to transfer those seeds from germination paper to let's say in the greenhouse or even directly in your garden, that's like a big shock for them to go from that setting to another setting. So they might not survive or do well. So I honestly do not recommend doing that unless if you're going to test your seeds in a potting soil, then you might be able to transfer them. But as you saw in the video, how I'm kind of like picking those seedlings up and looking at the root structure and the shoots. So when you are kind of like working with the seedling like that, you are kind of stressing them out a lot. And I don't think there's a good chance that they would survive if you were to transfer them to your garden. And that would be case for all of your normal seedlings and abnormal. And obviously, like the dead ones wouldn't really, they're already dead, so that won't be much help anyways. Yeah, hopefully that I answered your question.
Thank you. Could you talk about the paper that you use for germination, where to get something like that if you're a home gardener?
Yeah, so we get that, so that germination paper is specially made for germination testing your seeds. We get it from a company in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I am like blanking out on what the name was, but if you go to the conference website and where you have the germination testing video, you can actually see on that we have attached resources that we would use for germination testing, and the link to the website of the company is there as well. I'm just going to pull it up here very quick and I'll get that to you. Oh, it's actually called Anchor Paper Company based in St. Paul, Minnesota. So you can get the paper from them. And they come, as you can see in the video, they come in two sizes. One is for, sorry about that, two sizes. One is 10 by 15 and the other one is 10 by 30 sizes. So if you are going to do a big, for your big seeds like corn and beans, you can get the bigger size, and for smaller seeds like your mustard seeds, you can get the smaller ones. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Ryan is asking, how frequently do you test a given variety from collection storage? Is this every year for each variety?
Sorry, could you repeat the last part for me?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm understanding it quite either. The second part is this every year for each variety? The main question is, how frequently do you test a given variety from collection storage?
Yeah, so we are actually on a 10-year cycle. So everything that was tested 10 years ago, I have to retest it. So this year I'm testing everything we had tested in 2010. But we also, everything that we grow on our site, before we put them into storage, we make sure we are testing those before we can package them up and store them. So, but for us, we do it 10-year cycle. And what I have noticed is some crop types are like really resilient, and even after 10 years, their germination rate is still 90%. But there are some crop types like lettuce where the germination rate tends to drop a little faster. So it's like work in progress, and we might try to figure out what are the crop types that will lose their germination rate faster than the others, and try to germination test those more frequently. But we are on a 10-year cycle for sure.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
The next question we have from an iPhone user here, it says, what plants have the longest germination times? And are there some plants that are harder to test than others?
So if you see on the resources that we have attached with the video, I have attached the reference sheet where we have listed most of the crop types and all the conditions they need to be tested in. So over here, we have actually a few ground cherry, parsley, parsnip, and tomatillo, which the test can be up to 28 days. So as you can see, for example, for tomatillo, the first reading is in 7 days and the last reading is in 28 days. So it can take, you can see, as up to like almost a month for it to germinate, seeds to germinate. But that doesn't mean like all seeds are going to germinate in 7 days or all seeds are going to germinate 28 days. It's just between those two dates. So when you're reading your test, if you have already counted a seedling, you need to write that down and discard that seedling because you have already counted. This I hadn't clarified in the video, but if you have already counted that particular seedling, you don't have to keep it in the test, and you remove that so you do not count it for the second time, because then that would not give you an accurate data. But yeah, those are one of the longest tests. And for some crop types, we have to pre-chill them. So that could even take longer as well. And then for some crop types, we need to soak them in water. For example, beets, we need to soak them for 2 hours, throw that water out and soak them again for another additional 1 hour, because they have some form of like chemical inhibitors that are preventing them from germinating, so you need to soak them. So the good thing is that I don't have to remember all these things. We do have this big book from the AOSA. So for every crop type, I just like need to go and look up the particular conditions they need to be tested in and go from there. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Marta is asking, how many years can seeds be viable for? It sounds like they've heard about 800-year-old squash seeds found in a vessel and distributed to master gardeners.
So for us, we have the seed vault or the seed bank, which is at 0 degrees Fahrenheit. And technically, the seeds that we store there are supposed to be preserved for 100 years. So it could be as many as that years. So it really depends on the condition your seed was when you harvested it and you packaged it, and what the germination rate was. And then you have to make sure when you're preserving those seeds, they are in consistent conditions. So it would have been nice if we didn't go into our seed vault all the time, because then it would remain at the same temperature and we wouldn't be disturbing those seeds. But we do have to take those seeds out once in a while to distribute, so that kind of affects their germination and viability. But technically they're supposed to last for 100 seeds, and I'm pretty sure each crop type just has different for how long it can last. So, but we don't unfortunately have any data on like what each crop type is supposed to last for. But we are trying to like figure out how for each crop type our germination rate drops from like 10 years ago, because we are on a cycle for 10 years. So we are trying to see if we can collect some sort of data to see if there is any or how much change in germination rate over the years.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Could you clarify, I think you talk about this in your video, but could you clarify what is the AOSA?
Oh, it's the AOSA stands for Association of Official Seed Analysis, or is the organization in the United States that comes up with all the rules and testing regarding to seeds. So for example, in our catalog, all the seeds that we sell, they go to a certified lab. So you cannot actually sell your seeds when you're selling it for commercial purposes without getting that certification, because you need to prove that you are selling good and viable seeds. So this organization is the ones that comes up with all the rules and make sure that all the companies are following these seed viability rules. So the reason why this preservation lab is not certified lab is because first of all, we have 20,000 varieties of seeds, so we cannot afford to or have the resources to spend all that. It's just hard to test 20,000 varieties of seeds, and we also don't grow them in big quantities. And another reason is that the seeds that we sell from our collection on the exchange, we don't people don't have to pay for the seeds, so we are not required to send them for official testing. So that's why we just do it in-house. Yeah.
Great, thank you. How does Seed Savers Exchange address varieties that a germ test find to have low viability?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we haven't gotten to testing all of our inventory, so that's definitely work in progress. So if we do have something that's a really low germ, and for us, low germ is anything that is below 30%. So if you find a crop type that we tested and has germination rate below 30%, we are going to either try to somehow or either regrow it again, or get it from some other sources as well, so that we are also, you know, saving good seeds for that particular crop type. And in our database, we are also able to mark it as a problem, which means that, oh yeah, these are like low germination seeds, so we should try to regrow it sometime soon to make sure we are getting good seeds. And in case we are still distributing those seeds through our exchange, we will double the quantity of seeds we are going to send to somebody. So it's just like different ways we try to figure out, okay, when can we grow this low germination seed, or how should we distribute it in the best way, or can we get it from some other sources if we are not able to get good viable seeds of that, a low germination seed. So it's just like different, and there's a whole team trying to figure that out. We have every year we try to plan our gardens and what's going to go in them, and that germination kind of comes into that, and we have to figure out what space we have, what crop types we grow, and that's just how it goes from there. Yeah.
Thank you. It looks like Kathy Wagner has a question.
Yeah.
Kathy, I'm going to ask you to unmute and go ahead and ask your question.
All right. I have these old seed packets, right? This is Atlee Burpee. I got several, I think they were from my mom, you know, they were avid gardeners. 25 cents for 100 seeds, so that was quite old. And then these other like vine peach mango melon, and there's seeds in there. I do start seeds, but I'm a little bit nervous about doing these. Would it be good for me to send them to Seed Savers, or should I try them on my own and just take a guess? I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Shelja?
So, did you say you only have like 100 seeds in them?
Oh, no, I don't. This aster, this one probably has quite a few. I don't. The packets seem like they're sealed. Mm-hmm. I don't know that they are. What I was saying is that they were only 25 cents for 100 seeds, so you know that they're right. Quite old. You know,
right.
We don't do that anymore. So, and it was, so I've got anyway, I just didn't, they've been downstairs and I've been afraid to do anything with them. So what would you suggest?
Right. Yeah, I think the way we try to do it here is like, first of all, like we look at a seed lot, and if it's only like, we have only one packet of it and there are only like, let's say 100 seeds in them, and they're really old seeds. So is it, and I do not know what the condition of these seeds are. So for me, it would be better to just grow them out in the greenhouse or in my garden. That way I'm not, if I don't know what the germination rate on these seeds are, I would have better luck trying to grow them in the garden and get fresh batch of seeds instead of trying to waste them to figure out what the germination rate is. So even for us here, like, let's say we grew out something in the garden and we only got very few seeds, and we don't have those seeds that, you know, we don't have enough to germination test and, you know, waste it kind of like that. So what we'll do is try to grow it again next year, and hopefully we'll get enough seeds that next year, and then we can test them. So if you are not sure with these seeds, that
all right, well, I will take that for next spring. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you might have like better luck growing them out, and hopefully you will get enough harvest from that seed, and then you can test them, and then you can store them. And if you get good germination rate from those seeds, then like you're good to go for some years, and you don't have to worry about losing them. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And those look pretty fun, Kathy. Thanks for that question. Shelja, what is your favorite crop type to test and why?
I think I have a couple. I love lettuce seeds also because I get to do them on these small blotter containers, which we have shown in the video as well. So it's really fun to set them up. And once you see them grow as well, they're pretty cute to look at and very easy to read. It's a very easy test to read. So I really like working with lettuce seeds. And I think beans are fun too. Just like how many beans we have in our collection, and just to germination test all these different varieties of beans is really fun. So I think those two are like my favorite ones to work with. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And we have time for just one or two more questions. So if you have more questions, please make sure you've asked them here. The next question here is there a way to control fungus growth on germination paper, and is that important?
I think for us, we don't. So if we, for example, last year we had a really wet year for growing seeds and plants. And so then when our beans came back to us for germination testing, a lot of them had fungal growth, but we didn't want to put any sort of chemicals on them before we germination tested them. So we just had to go with what we had. But I do want to point that when you are going to be maybe germ testing at home, and if you're going to be doing multiple germination tests and you're working on one surface area, you want to disinfect those between each germination test. And also after you read a germination test and you know that there was fungus on the germ test, you want to disinfect that before you move on to the next one. So for me, on my desk, I'm always disinfecting my surface area every time I'm switching between different germination tests. I know that some people like to treat their seeds so that it doesn't promote any fungal growth, but we are trying to keep up with the organic standards, so we don't do that, unfortunately. Yeah, so I think that is the best we can do. But what I realized was I had a lima seed that I was testing this year, a German butter bean, and it's a really big bean. So on my paper towel, I just had a lot of fungus growth, and the seeds kind of kept dying on me. So then what I did was, after 2 trials, I was like, I'm going to try a soil test and see how it goes. And in the soil, it was like so much better, and they germinated so like perfectly. So I think sometimes paper towels don't help. So you might want to try a soil test in case you have a lot of fungal growth. So those are the 2 kind of things I like to do. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Melissa Moore is asking, has anything unusual ever happened during a test that really surprised you?
Unusual. I am not sure, but I guess that the German butter bean was pretty like amazing for me, because on paper towels they just didn't look good at all, and when I tried a soil test, it was just so much more better. So as you can see, like when you're testing your seed, it might look kind of sad on the paper towel, but if you move to soil testing, it's so much better, because obviously seeds just grow better in soil, because that's where they're supposed to grow. And if you test beets, they are pretty fun and a little annoying, I would say, but still amazing to look at. So in beet seed, you would actually have at least 3 growth or 3 seedlings coming out of from one single seed. So like the first time I did that, I wasn't sure what was going on, but once I read more about it, it was just fun to see that that's just how they grow, and it's still normal. So yeah.
Great, thank you. I think our final question for today is coming from Jeffrey. Jeffrey asks, if Seed Savers receives an old sample of very rare seeds, do you do any treatments to break dormancy and promote germination?
Would you like to repeat that again, please?
Yeah, if we receive an old sample of rare seeds, do you do any treatments to break dormancy and promote germination?
So we try to do that. So the kind of funny thing is that we still have to follow the AOSA rules. And with a lot of our beans and okra seeds, we do have hard seededness, so that prevents them from germinating right away. And so that's the that's kind of thing that we mostly deal with. And for germination testing, even if you nick those hard seeds, and if they do eventually grow, we cannot count them towards our official germination rate. So that's the rule we have to follow. But I believe that when we are dealing with those seeds in the greenhouse, and if we have low quantity seeds and these are rare seeds, then we cannot get them from anywhere else. And if we know it's a bean that we should nick or a okra we should nick, we are going to do that to break that hard seededness so that water will get in easily, so that the seed is going to grow and it's going to look good. But in terms of testing, we don't nick them before we start the test, but we'll see how the tests go and see if nicking helps them. But then again, like I mentioned, even after nicking, and if it grows normally, I cannot count that towards my germination rate. So that's kind of the not so fun part. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Well, that's all the time we have. So thank you all so much for being here and asking your questions. And thank you, Shelja, for taking your time to answer them. Shelja, do you have any last thoughts you'd like to share with us before we go?
I hopefully the video is going to be helpful for all of you if you're going to try germination testing at home. You don't need all of those fancy equipment like the germination paper. So feel like free to use just normal paper towels at home. And really, if you have extra seeds, just experiment and see what those seeds look like. It's really fun to see them when they grow on paper towels. Just try it out. And if you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out and I'll be happy to help. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. And we'll see you at the next one.